Hey everyone, Eric Rotobaugh. We're going to do a quick video, try to aim for 5 minutes to talk about phishing and the liability that it has to your company. So phishing with a PH is where somebody sends emails that look like they're real emails and they're trying to trick the person receiving them into either clicking on a link or giving a password or giving a credit card information or giving a social security number or any other things, right? And so our IT company actually does tests where they send phishing emails to our employees to try to see how wary they are. And so the rule of thumb is you need to be careful. You need to look really closely because what they're going to do is they're going to spoof an email address that looks real and they're going to try to change a letter. So here's a true story. One of my clients, they hadn't paid their invoice. And so we followed up with them and they're like, yeah, we paid our invoice. Didn't you get it? And we're like, no, we're really sorry. We never get it. They're like, yeah, remember when you emailed us your new wire instructions for your new bank? We sent the money there. And we're like, when did you do that? And they said, we did that a couple months ago. And I'm like, wow. So can you send me that email, please? I asked them. And they send me the email. And sure enough, it was almost my email address with one or two characters that were changed. And for example, in ours, it's law.com at the end. Well, they could change the L to a 1. Something sneaky like that. Or sometimes they'll change an O to a 0. And to the person who's not being careful, and here's where they get you. What probably happened, and again, I don't know because I was not privy to a cyber research on my clients' servers, but here's what probably happened. Somebody on their team clicked on a link, which then allowed the hackers to get access to their email system. Then they just sit back and they wait. And what they saw is that once a month, somebody from my team was sending them an invoice every month. So for them, getting an invoice from us was very normal. That was a normal thing that they wouldn't think would be out of the ordinary. So then what they did is they spoofed an email account that looked almost, it was like 99% the same email address, but I caught it. I was like, wait a minute, it was .co instead of .com. Or sometimes they'll change the ending altogether. Instead of .com, it'll be .ru. And I'll just pick on that because a lot of the hackers are in Russia. And so they get this email, they're not paying close attention, and the email says, hey, we've changed our wire instructions, here you go. Well, just as a completely separate rule of thumb, because of this, we have a hard rule that any banking instructions, we have to call and physically speak with someone, not at the phone number in the weird email we got. I need to call a trusted phone number that I've had on file for this client for a long time, and we'll call them up and we'll say, hey, we just got this email with new wire instructions. Did you mean to send me new wire instructions? Now, had they done that, my assistant would have been like, well, absolutely not. We haven't changed our banks in years. And so no, the new bank instructions are fake. Do not use it. Well, they didn't do that. They did not verify all banking information verbally. And so they fell for the trap. And in fact, they then turned around and said, this must be your fault. And I'm like, how is it my fault? I lost money in this conversation. So why would I have anything to do with that? And they said, well, maybe you got hacked. I'm like, well, then why would they need to change the email address? They could just use my real email. I'm like, no, you guys got hacked. They figured out who a regular vendor was. Then they spoofed an email and you fell for it. And so then the follow-up question is, well, what if when somebody's inside your system, they use your system to start sending out phishing emails to other people in the world? Can those other people sue your company? And the short answer is yes. You have a duty. You have a duty to the public. You have a duty to the world almost. And it's the duty based on negligence, right? And so it is negligent to not have cybersecurity. It is negligent in this modern day and age to not have systems in place to make sure that you haven't been hacked. And if you've been hacked and people are using your computer to do bad things, you can be liable. And there are actually not just the common law, which common law is the laws we inherited from England, which is where negligence comes from, but there are actually state-by-state laws. So here in Florida, we have the Florida Information Protection Act, which requires you to notify people if you've been hacked, which has an affirmative obligation for you to have cyber protection in place, and creates possible liability for you if you're not following minimum safeguards. However, I will note that there was an even more aggressive law. However, it was vetoed recently by the governor because they didn't want to just create a minimum level. They want the minimum level to kind of be vague so that people don't just do the minimum. So we don't really know what the minimum is, so you got to do something, and probably more than the minimum. Then there's actually a federal law And so long story short, you need to be vigilant, and I think that's the key word. And if you're not being vigilant, yes, your business can be held liable if your systems get compromised and bad people use your systems to do bad things. All right, guys, Eric Rodebois, 5 Minutes with Eric. Please reach out if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and I'm happy to speak with you.